And we are live. So we've been looking at the kinematics equations. I did this slide question, which is a pretty challenging one, so we had to break it into two parts. We had to use an answer to find an answer. We could tell it had two parts because it had two displacements or two distances. That suggested something weird was going on. So if you notice a question has two times, for example, there's probably two trips or two parts or something going on there as well. And then example 7. Another application that says this: an RCMP officer is investigating a car crash. At the scene of the accident, there are skid marks that are 32.5 meters long. The driver of the car was speaking on a cell phone during the accident, and the cell phone happened to record the sound of the skid for 1.2 seconds. The speed limit on the road is 60 kilometers per hour, and the driver says he was not speeding. Should the driver be charged with speeding? Well, our first question is this. What's this question asking us to find? Which one? Final velocity? I disagree. I know the final velocity of every single car accident in history ever. What's the final velocity of every single car accident in history ever? I'm not going to ever tell you that again, but if you're ever analyzing a car accident, you can assume that. In fact, you know what? I might write down VF equals 0 because I've had that aha. What's it asking me to find then? It's how fast we were going at the beginning. This wants me to find VI, so I'm going to write down VI equals question mark. Find it yet? Okay. What's that 32.5? Probably a displacement, but we're going to be kind of casual with that. What's that 1.2? Do I know 3 things? Then I can find a 4th. If I only had 2, there would have to be something else that I would have to reason my way there to. Which equation? One of these days, someone's going to mention that bracket. Bracket VI plus VF, close bracket, times T over 2. All right, Gerard. What are we trying to get by itself? What's the VI inside of? I'm looking for where that starts letter B. I'll do brackets last because it's reverse BEDMAS. I'll deal with the outside first. What's going to drop down like a domino? Then what? Yes. Yes. Yeah, and because VF is 0, and that minus VF would be outside of the fraction, next to the fraction. Because VF is 0, I'm going to skip that step on my calculator, but if it wasn't, that's how I would get the VI by itself. Okay, let's crunch the numbers. I'm going to get 2 times 32.5 divided by 12, technically minus 0, but I'm going to go like this and just cross it out. What do you get? Oh, 1.2. I didn't see the decimal. Thank you. That would be a long skid. What'd you get? 54.2. The speed limit was 60. Should this driver be charged with speeding? Oh, you all need to go work for Verizon. Units. Units. No. This is meters per second. What's the speed limit on this road? 60 what? We need to do a conversion, Verizon boy. It's something to do with the 3.6. Am I going to times or multiply? I can't remember which. Sorry? Oh. How many kilometers per hour was this person doing on this road? Sorry? Oliver, I ask you again, should this person be charged with speeding? In fact, you could use this in a court of law. If this person had injured somebody, you could absolutely charge them with vehicular manslaughter. Oh, and you know what? This is the minimum VI. They might have slowed down before they started to skid. They were going at least that fast. Now, Josh, I have to apologize. You don't know much physics, and so I had to contrive this question. I had to have this amazing coincidence of the cell phone recording the sound of the skid. We'll come back to this later on this year. We'll come back to this question, and by then you'll know enough only from measuring the skid marks you can figure out what VI had to be. We just haven't learned. I need to show you how friction works and how to calculate the force of friction, how work and energy work, and we'll get there. But if any of you are thinking about going into law enforcement, now, probably if you're going into crash scene investigation, I'm willing to bet they have software that does all this for you. You just measure the data, but it's always nice to know once you have the data what's going on. I'm kind of a nerd that way. Okay? So that brings us to the end of the lesson. I already assigned the homework to you yesterday. I didn't circle it on this one, but you all circled it. And I also have a take-home quiz for you. Bear with me. So, folks, you have a take-home quiz, and the take-home quiz that I just gave you looks like this. It's very, very, very similar to lesson number 3. And I think I mentioned to you that there was a couple of weird ones on lesson number 3. And 19 might also be one of them. Yes, 19 is also one of them. 19 and 17 are 2 questions that I contrived deliberately to make sure that you got a weird glitch on your calculator. So I'll do number 19 with you, and you're going to see why you're getting the wrong answer, even though you think you're doing it right. What's it asking you to find? And so you decided that it was VF squared equals VI squared. You could just look up, folks, if you want to, and follow along. How would you get the D by itself?
Started with VF squared minus VI squared.
Yep.
Over 2A.
That's perfect. And then you went like this. VF is 125, don't forget the squared, minus negative 12, don't forget the squared, all over 2 times 1.6. And then here is my guess for what you did, Moses, and this is wrong technically, but look up. You probably went, give the fancy fraction. Okay, I'm going to do bracket. You probably went 125 squared minus negative 12 squared, close bracket, divided by 2 times 1.6. Does anybody see the glitch? So it has to do with how your calculator does BEDMAS. So here's the problem. Squaring a negative. Everyone look up. In your head, everyone, what's 3 squared? Because 3 times 3 is? What's negative 3 squared? What's negative 3 times negative 3? What's a negative times a negative? And then 3 times 3 is? How come when I go negative 3 squared on my calculator, I get negative 9? The calculator did not know that I also wanted to square the negative. It doesn't realize that. If I want it to square a negative, I have to do that. Then I'll get the 9 that I'm expecting. My calculator is kind of stupid that way. So if I'm typing that equation, and also for number 17, I would have to go 125 squared minus bracket, negative 12, close bracket. The squared goes outside the bracket, close bracket, divided by 2 times 1.6. Most of your calculators, that'll be the issue. Yeah?
Okay, I was writing brackets around the negative 12, but I put the
squared inside.
Yeah.
Have to put it outside.
Okay.
And that's how you get the 4,840. I guarantee I'll put 1 like that somewhere on your test for this unit. I'll give you a negative that you have to square, and you'll need to realize, ooh, if I don't put it in brackets. Now, there's also a bit of a lazy approach. Everybody, what is a negative times a negative? Again, what is a negative? Tony, stay with me. What is a negative times a negative? I would, if I was typing this, I would write this, but on my calculator, because I know that negative is going to vanish when I square it, I would actually be so lazy. I would go because I know that'll give me the same answer. That negative is redundant when I square it, and it's less typing. So you'll actually catch me once in a while, Aaron, if I know I'm squaring a negative and I know it's going to vanish and I don't want to put all those brackets, I'll just omit it because I know it's going to vanish. I'm good at math, and I think I've used the phrase lazy but organized. Yes? It's up to you. So that same glitch will also appear here. See how VF is negative, and you're going to be squaring it? It's going to appear in number 17. Not going to appear in number 18. I don't see any negative values there. We're also going to have to deal with something when we kind of reverse engineer that equation, but that'll come up in a few days as well. So we can't always trust our calculators to know what we're talking about. Is that all right? While we're at it, were there any other questions from any of the homework from the past few days? So you can ask me individually if you don't want to ask in front of everybody. You've got the take-home quiz. I'm going to press stop.